Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I am Tiano here once again, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Kirby's Adventure Wii, aka Kirby's Return to Dreamland for the Nintendo Wii. So, last time we have managed to go through World 3, which is essentially Onion Ocean, and once again, we have managed to able to get ourselves every single of those energy spheres on that specific world, and also we managed to able to restore the left wing. So today, we're about to begin the fourth world in this game, which appears to be a snowy themed world, and that appears to be White Waffles, which either way, as I mentioned this before already, is basically a snow themed world. And as a result, I think we might actually come across into ourselves the ice physics from time to time, but then again though, we'll find out whenever we jump right into the actual world itself. So, yeah, today's day is the forms of the 14th of January today in 2020 for this point today. Oh yeah, let's show off the fighter copy ability before we're able to discuss more onto specific stuff. Here we have the fighter ability, the returning copy ability ever since in the past few games basically. So even then though, it behaves exactly like how it did in the previous games for sure, but the major difference is the fact that we're going to be using the Wiimotes sideways and all that stuff. So there's not much anything else commented on that specific matter, but at least that's usually functions the same stuff. So anyways though, so let's go into this third igloo here, and we need to get ourselves the fire ability, because after we've gone through the third igloo, then you notice there's actually a fourth igloo, which this time it actually includes some ice blocks, and normally we can't break those normally without any sort of abilities, because instead obviously fire can do a lot of work, so that way you can able to actually melt with all these ice blocks in mind. So, and I think at this point in time, I think this might be potentially be the final time we're going to be able to come across into one of those levels that you can able to actually get yourselves, you know, 3 energy spheres, if I was assuming that correctly, although I may be wrong. But then again though, we'll find out in journey forms of the 5th world, and especially noticeable with the later progressions when it comes to this game. So, yeah, and also because of this though, originally I was supposed to be able to actually just to do something a little bit differently, most notably with trying to take on the forms of the challenge areas and stuff like that on that specific challenge stages in Lost Star Cutter. But somehow we're not going to do it right now, up until whenever we get to later on though, because then again though, if you couldn't tell by the actual time length already, although before we get to that actually, we need to aim the cannon onto this top part here, so that way you can get yourselves the next energy sphere, and we can go back down, so just in case we can able to, well, continue our progression here. So yeah, there are quite a few things worth mentioning though, is the fact that because of the actual time length, as you can see right there, just like the forms of worlds 1 through 3, I'm actually going to be going for this particular world in a single run through of that specific video, as you can see right there, due to the forms of that time length, and also because I'm not exactly prepared to able to go through challenge stages just yet though. I'll wait until whenever we're able to actually unlock everything, or mainly we can able to actually get ourselves all of the energy spheres first, and then we can able to actually go from here. I'm not exactly sure, but then again, we'll find out during the forms of that specific uploading schedules as are concerned. But hey, at least we got ourselves the all of the energy spheres in 4-1. So, and unfortunately I've lost my fire ability, but luckily for me, we got ourselves the returning ability, which appears to be the mic. And just like the forms of how it does it on, I would say ever since in Kirby's Dream Land 1, that I'm presuming that I remember correctly, you're able to once again utilize the actual mic ability, which acts out like a screen nuke. And basically, if you try to take on the forms of the mini boss fights, such as of course the Gigant Edge here, then you're able to deal twice as amount of damage, as you can see right there. Not all of it, mind you, because I was expecting I could able to save that up whenever we're able to actually take him down or anything. But, seemingly to say, I just did not know as I was expecting to do that, so oh well, though, beggars else can't be choosers. But anyways, let's go ahead and get ourselves our whip, so that way we can get ourselves our another extra life. And yeah, just like before, my life's count has been reset, so I think it will happen every single time whenever we do that kinds of stuff. just like in the forms of, before we get on to the forms of, Triple Deluxe, as well as Planet Robobot, but, you know, you probably get the idea for that solution here. So yeah, there are some quite a few exciting things it's worth mentioning though, and that was the fact that, well, first of all, although we'll explain more on that until whenever we jump right into the second stage here, and nothing's unlocked just yet though, but don't worry, we'll unlock some parts during the forms of stage 2 and beyond, so hopefully that can get a little bit more relative and all that. So anyway, a few things we want to explain is that recently we got ourselves our specific news, most notably with the upcoming theme park attractions by the forms of Universal Studios in Japan, and also there's going to be a surprising Nintendo Direct. Well, specifically, once again, it's going to take place in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate once again, but except this time around, though, it's going to be a lot longer, which we'll point it out whenever we explain about that specific part until later. But first off, let's talk about the forms of, specifically, the Super Nintendo World's news. First off, is the fact that they actually brings us something new to the table, such as, well, they obviously contains the actual special wrist strap-on, so that way you can able to become like a true gamer or something like that, which I think is actually pretty cool. Now I think the actual skins you get is based off from the good guys, which there are Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Yoshi, and Toad, especially noticeable for Daisy, despite that Daisy wasn't on the trailer just came up, which I will say, I was really hyped for that, because, well, obviously they did show off some of the montage of the forms of Nintendo Switch owners managed to play their own Nintendo Switches, of course, and then they realized about the fact that there's actually that mysterious familiar warp pipe that has been shown up across the whole world, which either way though, I was really hyped for that. And just like the forms of Super Mario Run, and especially noticeable with Super Mario Odyssey, they once again managed to able to get a lot of emphasis on the vocal theme, which is pretty cool though. Now I'm not exactly sure what that vocal song was its name, but even then though, I was like so hyped for that, because especially noticeable how the fact that we can now actually see the entire theme park around here, which I was like, oh man, I'm actually really hyped for the actual amusement park I was going to be entering to. Well, I don't know when I was going to be entering for this point right there. Of course, the actual theme is that, or that theme song that has been played is actually by the forms of We Are Born to Play, and that has been performed by Galliantus featuring Chal XCX. I'm assuming that's what that is. But then again, though, we'll talk more on that until whenever we come across into that specific boot section again. So yeah, you know how I felt with this specific boot, and there's the first step of the playthrough. I know I could try it, but I just want to keep that in the video, but you know, that sucks. Yeah, because that's what I mean when it comes to the actual shoe kind of item that you have to get used to with it, because I did a miserable time trying to deal with the forms of trying to do a lot of timing requirements, because you have to be dead on with the actual button presses, because I swear to God, I was trying to bounce off and then just trying to jump onto that specific enemy, but most of the time though, I keep on getting myself screwed over due to the actual multitude of bouncing and stuff, which hopefully though, the first boot is not that very much rewarding, it's just the forms of the actual food supply, but the second boot on the other hand though, we need to aim for the second energy sphere. So either way, like always, we need to do a multitude of bouncing onto those enemies in the exact right in time. That way you can get yourselves the actual energy spheres like so. But then again, I just found that item to be extremely difficult to grips with, because obviously because of how the fact that I'm just not very good with a little bit of rhythm going on. That's why I'm not a big fan of Rhythm Paradise games to me though, because I'm doing very awful when it comes to like rhythm aspects and all that in mind. Then again though, because of how the fact that I wasn't too particularly keen on at first, but anyway though. And I believe coming up is going to be the next special ability, or the super ability as far as I like to say, But then again, though, we'll point it out whenever we're able to get close to one. So even then, though, after bypassing those spikes and all that stuff, so even then there's not much anything else to talk about. Oh yeah, let's talk about the forms of, another thing they actually did added in with the forms of Super Nintendo World. Now it appears to be some sort of like a special app that you can able to access to, but even then, it's actually pretty cool to able to actually just to see how that turns out. And before we get to the forms of the actual mentioning about the forms of the next Smash Bros. Direct, which we'll point it out during in any second or two. So here we have Super Bonkers here, which is basically just the advanced version of normal Bonkers, except, well, he's actually sparkly with stars. And also, because as you can tell, he actually has a star on his forehead, this means he might as well got ourselves the super ability. So either way, we can at least able to actually just try to able to go for all that. But of course, I keep on getting hit by getting cornered by that specific matter. But of course, if you manage to do so already, then we can get ourselves the Grand Hammer, which is basically a much more powerful hammer, which basically what that does is that if you press the one button, and then if you're trying to go for this animation here, you can either go for those shaking a Wiimote segments, which basically if you do it at least just only for one time, I'm pretty sure you only get just a normal hammer and stuff. And then if you shake the Wiimote twice, then it actually gives us a little bit bigger hammer. But of course, if you shake the Wiimote for about 3 times or so, or in this case, well, I won't classify for saying, like, you get a normal hammer if you don't shake the Wiimote, and if you shake the Wiimote once, you get, like, some sort of, like, a medium-sized hammer. And then, finally, perhaps most notably, is that if you shake the Wiimote twice, then it actually gives us a biggest hammer of all, which, I will say, it is super satisfying, which, either way, because, you know, there's not much else to say about that specific ability in mind. Now, of course, we still need to able to get a lot of usage on that, just because of how the fact that we might actually come across into ourselves the next portal dimension that we must able to actually just compromise with. So either way, though, we'll come across into one eventually. So anyways, let's go ahead and take that one down. Of course, it doesn't really matter of what the hammer size you might go for. It could be either the normal size one or the gigantic one, but either way though, let's just go ahead and finish one off from here. Now I think it's this section I was going to be on about. And then if we smash, it doesn't matter which one of those jack-in-the-boxes you might destroy, then, you know, it actually takes us to the portal dimension, or another dimension I should say. And then this part right there is the fact that we need to always bring the key all the way to the gate, so just in case you don't want to get crushed or anything like that. So self-explanatory, unless if you're trying to be faster enough or anything like that. So, but I digress. So let's talk about the most important aspect about the actual news today, and that appears to be by the forms of the next Super Smash Bros. Direct, which I will say, I'm very excited for this, and it's gonna be, well, on Thursday, the 16th of January, so at least I'm super excited about this. Especially noticeable how the fact that I'm pretty darn sure that the most of these directs on 2020 is always going to be hosting on Thursdays this time around, because in 2019 it's always hosted on Wednesdays, but now we get ourselves Thursdays again, because I'm pretty sure it goes like some sort of like a pattern thing going on. Like, you know, for instance, I'm pretty sure in 2017 we got is Wednesdays daily for Nintendo Directs, and as well as in that, in 2018 we got Thursdays Directs and stuff like that. Now in 2019 we got Wednesdays, and well, I'm pretty sure in the majority of 2020 it will be for the majority of Thursdays, so I'm pretty darn sure that might be the case. But I digress. So here's another returning ability. If you can clearly see on screen, we have Ninja, which basically how it sounds, it basically plays out exactly like how it did in the previous games for sure. So naturally speaking, there's not much else to discuss upon the Ninja copy ability as long as I could at least describe more about it. But I digress. We'll take down the forms of Sphere Dumo, as you can see right there, and able to gather the final 2 of those energy spheres, and we'll get the heck out of here. Strangely enough though, is the fact that the first level in this particular world is actually going pretty short, But then again, whenever we move on to stage 2, well, naturally speaking, we pretty much gone all the way to the end on stage 2 already. But whenever we get to stage 3 and 4, and probably 5, and because of that, though, the reason why I'm saying that, because, well, at this rate in time, is that in World 4, especially noticeable in World 5, that we might actually come across into ourselves 5 regular platforming stages, basically. So either way, and we got ourselves the next challenge, which appears to be the bomb challenge, but then again, we'll point it out after we've gone through all that specific stuff. So anyways, then let's move on to stage 3. So even then, no, there's not much else to say, so let's go and get fire from now on, because otherwise then we can able to protect ourselves from icicle stuff. So yeah, about with the forms of the Super Smash Bros. Direct is gonna come up in during the forms of this Thursday, the 16th of January, I should say. Almost said February for some reason. Because yeah, basically, yeah, it might actually begins that particular presentation at some point in 2 o'clock specifically in the UK version, and I'm pretty darn sure the actual running time for this specific event, it might actually be something related to 35 minutes at minimum, which is actually pretty big in comparison to the forms of how it does in the previous one. I think the last time they did done the Smash Bros. Direct, or in this case for this matter, the demonstration of that specific character, which is of course Terry Bogard from the SNK's Fatal Fury, that was the last time we got ourselves the actual news of Smash Bros. Ultimate. So either way, yeah, I'm actually pretty excited to see how that the new fighter is going to be bringing out. We don't know what the character specifically is going to be called, but either way though, we'll find out in June at some point in Thursday, which, speaking of Thursday, that will be the exact uploading daily schedules for this game. So either way, perfect opportunity, I suppose, especially when Sakurai is going to be able to be hosting the actual Direct once again. So naturally speaking, it will be a perfect fit for my uploading schedules, for Kirby uploading schedules at that point, because, you know, Sakurai also made the actual Kirby series, which is probably true. So, but I digress. So let's go ahead and continue things on, and watch out for these little icicle boulders that's coming from the hill. And then basically we need to keep on like going like up and down in between. And yeah, this is what I mean. This particular world is going to be a lot more slipperier than the forms of how it does it on the previous worlds for this point. So naturally speaking, there's not much else to talk to. So anyway, so I believe we do need to get a lot of emphasis on for the next energy sphere. We do need to get ourselves the invincibility crystal, so that way you can able to bypass through all sorts of objects and hazards. So, and also we need to get ourselves this fire enemy so to able to gobble up with. And can you swallow this up, please? Thank you. Hi. Sometimes I go a little bit off for that depth perception right there. But anyways, we do need to use fire, because that way we need to melt these ice cubes to begin with, and then go all the way from here, and then just simply destroy the bomb block, as you can see right there. And then when you're done so already, then otherwise you get yourselves the forms of the second energy sphere. So not too difficult or anything like that. So, but then again, you need to get yourselves the fire ability to begin with, so that way you could able to deal with all that. And the next energy sphere, I think we need to get ourselves just Cutter, because that way it allows us to able to do some clever techniques that you can able to perform, which we'll point it out whenever we get into that specific cut rope segment, as you probably guys should already know this at this point. If you go here and try to angle yourself through, or let's say here, and then try to press up on the directional pad at all times, so that way you can able to let the actual cutter just managed to able to bump through wall to wall, and boom, the actual puzzle solved. But that doesn't end off here, because, well, obviously you do need to activate the switch, so that way you let that specific giant snow crystal thing to able to go down. Unless if you're trying to play multiplayer, you can able to actually sacrifice your friend, so that way you can able to get that energy sphere in the process. So, but obviously I'm not going to take a risk, because otherwise I might as well lose my cutter ability in the process. So But yeah, that's as far as I can usually just try to talk about this at this point in time, guys, because either way, I'm very happy about that right now, because, well, it's nothing awful or anything during the informs of the Pokemon Direct recently, during the informs of about 5 days ago. It's just that, well, I just wish there was actually more variety on these other games, like, you know, the new Mario game, and especially noticeable with the Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition's release date at this point, and, it's just going all over the place, I'm telling you. It just goes all over the place sometimes. But, we don't know exactly what the actual next thing they're going to be brings us to. But then again, though, we have to wait and see what happens and during, at some point in, at least at the very end of this month, or potentially trying to make it to February in case of anything else will count. So, but then again, we'll find out in that time, especially noticeable with how much excitement I was for the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate 5th DLC character, because it's about time actually, because, well, despite with the most lackluster game awards in during forms of 2019, at least as far as I've noticed that already, because otherwise then we got ourselves the Fast and Furious Crossroads, which I wasn't too impressed at first, because, well, the actual visuals in that game looks very lacking in polish, and as a result of that kinds of stuff, I'm probably not going to pick it up for that game, because otherwise, though, it actually feels like somewhat of a, like a backwards kind of way ever since then, so, but I digress. It's probably just me anyway, though. It is probably just me anyway, so. Now, I suppose another thing I'd like to discuss upon, for those of you the Final Fantasy fans out there, including the forms of, let's just say, Pro Jared, as well as from that, Comment J64, for those of you able to be looking forward to actually playing through Final Fantasy VII Remake during the forms of March the 3rd. Unfortunately, though, that game will be delayed during the forms of in April the 10th of 2020, so you have to wait for about at this point in time, since after all, this is the 14th of January at this point today, and unfortunately, you guys, for the Final Fantasy fans out there, unfortunately, you have to wait for about 3 months now, which is pretty ridiculous, but I'm guessing it's probably because they need to able to let the game manage to able to actually get a nice polish at the end for a specific amount of time, so. Yeah, it's just a little bit of a nitpicking coincidence, that is, because I was expecting if I was gonna get that, but not now though, because we got other things itself to be planned, especially with, you know, just all sorts of Nintendo stuff, so. Anyways, let's go ahead and take down this, water enemy right here, or that mini-fight rather, and because we need to use the water ability to begin with, after killing him in the process, so that way we could able to get the water copy ability, and then hopefully continue to the right, and here we have another key section here, and this is where we come across into ourselves the last energy sphere on that specific level. So anyways, let's go ahead and do a water spit, and then that way you can able to keep a hold of that key, and then destroy that bomb block, and boom, you're actually completely done with, well, 4-3. So even then, no, it's not too difficult or anything, even though if you couldn't tell already, I almost pretty much waste my time on that specific bomb section, on that specific first part, because sometimes it can be pretty confusing at times, but then again, it's just optional for the most part though, because either way, if you really want to go for 100%, like going for energy spheres and everything, I suggest you skip that first part, because that way, it's not worth anything, so. Anyways, let's move on to stage 4 here, and basically, I think we'll do need to get, it doesn't matter what abilities we might go for the first energy sphere, and I believe in this stage in particular, we might actually come across into ourselves another dimension portal thing once again, so either way, that makes it a little bit subbed up as like so. So either way, let's just go ahead and enter this door here. And hopefully, now, onto that specific section here, pay attention to the ones with Waddle DDD on here, because basically, if you manage to see him riding on that specific enemy, jump at the right time on that specific cannon, then that way, it'll give you the forms of opportunity to get yourselves the energy sphere from here. So, yeah, there's not much else commented on that, so. Now, I suppose another thing I'd like to say is the fact that, well, I'm probably not going to explain things too much specifically, though, just because of how the fact that, well, we'll have to wait for it until until likely this Thursday that we can able to discuss upon more things to talk about, specifically with, of course, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's 5th DLC character, in this case the final DLC character for the Fighters Pass, and hopefully there might be still more in the future, specifically in 2020 and beyond, but either way though, we have to wait and see what happens there, and during maybe at some point in E3 this year, although, kind of thing about it though, is the fact that, well, we'll have to wait and see what happens there, if the other toys might actually do the actual redo Let's Play of Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games, because, you know, we figure we might as well able to do that redo Let's Play in June at some point in June, around the same time as when we're going to be doing our another redo Let's Play, which is of course Pac-Man World 2. And then during 2021, hopefully we might as well do the black sheep of the series, which is of course Pac-Man World 3. So either way though, I'm actually not looking forward to that, but either way though, it's just a bit of a coincidence that is. So unfortunately I lost my water ability, but that's fine because the second energy sphere is down there, and make sure do not let that enemy just trying to unlock that door from above, because that way it allows you to able to actually get ambushed by those enemies, as you can see right there. So yeah, there's not much else to really commented on this. So, and I believe we might actually get ourselves to returning Snowball once again. So either way though, because it has been few stages ago ever since in Onion Ocean's stage 1. So, but this time around though, we need to do some bowling action, because if you're trying to knock down all sorts of pins, as you can see right there, kind of like bowling, but depends off, well, it's kind of like the same thing for how it does it in Twinkle Park stage in Sonic Adventure, that basically, that if you're trying to knock down all these pins all at once, that way you can get yourselves a much more bigger reward. But if you don't manage to knock all these pins throughout, then basically you don't get yourselves a much more bigger reward. I did not notice these icicle pins did actually damage you for a little bit, so yeah, I'm not sure how that works, but hey. But that's not the real treatment here, because we need to go all the way to that snowman's body, and that way we can able to not only just manage to able to, well, destroy that specific snowman, but also access to the forms of another portal dimension. Yeah, there's not much else comment on that specific stuff, and this time we need to once again gonna go all the way down, except now we have ice physics, because you know what I mean for ice physics? Well, there we are right now. We have ice physics as in the forms of the entire section like this, so it's gonna make things a little bit tricky though, especially noticeable how the fact that if you keep slipping all over the place with the icicles and stuff, well, yeah, you might end up getting new forms of difficult situations like so. But hopefully we can able to actually just to bypass through everything basically, so. But I digress. So I guess that's pretty much all I can say when it comes to the forms of the updates and then all that stuff, especially noticeable how the fact that I'm really excited for you know, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and I'm hoping I can be pretty hyped up compared to the forms of how it does it on Pokemon Direct, in my opinion. Probably because of how the fact that I just wasn't really know of how do I expect for this point, because basically I just did not even notice the whoa. Well, I accidentally slipped on for that. Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention about this is that if you go into these little portal dimensions, as you can see right there, basically what happens is that if you do die on those segments, you get kicked out. So naturally speaking, we do need to enter it again, so just in case for the final 2 energy spheres. I don't know if this particular segment will give you a limited amount of chances to able to actually just well, try these segments again, but then again, I'll find out for myself in case if I want to research on that specific matter. But then again though, at some point throughout, is that the actual portal dimension segments can get a little bit tricky and difficult as you progress, especially noticeable in this particular world because of, well, technically we've already come across into one already, but in that particular level, specifically in 4-2, it doesn't give you the opportunities to go through the actual obstacle challenges with ice physics in mind, but here you have to deal with the ice physics, so I guess that makes it totally obvious in terms of difficulty curve. But either way though, there's not much else to really just to try to talk about that. Oh yeah, talking of which actually, is the fact that there's also another Let's Play we're about to be planning to do a redo on. That appears to be by the forms of Mario Party 4. But that again though, that we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Enjoy new forms in the future years and beyond. Especially noticeable that we need to focus on the actual setup by the forms of trying to do some recording sessions on the old retro systems for this point with the Roxo Game Capture HD Pro at some form or another. But then again though, we have to wait for a little while. So, and plus it'll take us a lot of time so that you can able to actually just to know to able to actually just get ourselves some qualities a lot better. So anyways though, so let's go ahead and just try to throw a bomb away and get ourselves the final 2 energy spheres, and that pretty much takes care of level 4-4 in terms of energy spheres. So yeah, it's not so hard or anything like that, at least in the forms of you know, the ice slippery physics and new forms of that specific dimension portal thing right there. But regardless, I accidentally died for that despicable slipperiness, then I think we'll be alright as long as we could able to actually just deal with all that. But anyway, that takes care of that, and I suppose we are now moving on to stage 5. And then after that, I believe we might as well get ourselves the next boss in stage 6. So, and we got ourselves room number 3 in Kirby Ability's room has been accessed now. So even then though, we can able to just do that for our own time. But of course we're not going to do it right now. Although what I'm going to do here, although I'm probably not going to explain this until later on for this Let's Play, because there was actually this little unlockable thing after we've gone through the main game. Although, then again, I'll explain more on that later. So anyways, let's go ahead and go for these different amount of rooms basically, and then we need to grab the key, because that way we can able to actually go through different rooms, and then we could able to, well, just do the usual stuff basically. So yeah, that's as far as I can say when it comes to the forms of this particular discussion for this point, guys, because, you know, I'm super excited for this specific part throughout. I kind of wish that we can get ourselves the proper direct, but then again though, we have to wait until, well, for the majority of January, or for this matter though, we have to wait for one until in February, which I know some fans might be pretty upsetting for not getting the actual proper Nintendo Direct at this point in time, especially with any kind of announcements for Nintendo logic wise. But then again though, we have to wait and see what happens there and during at some point in for the majority of January, or just in February, just like the forms of how it does it in specifically in 2019 specifically. So, but then again, we'll find out and during later parts throughout the road. So even then, that everything else will be possibilities of endless when it comes to forms of predictions, I suppose. So anyways, the next ability right here, we need to get ourselves the fire ability, as you can see right there, to go for this particular door by simply melting the actual ice blocks to begin with. Oh, this is going to be pretty tricky. Because basically in this part right there, we need to, well, just bypass for all sorts of block passages along the way. So you have to run for it, because if you don't make it in time, well, you're probably not going to be able to make it for this point. Unless if you try it again until you exit the room and then re-entering that room again. If I were you, don't go for this section in multiplayer, because that way in multiplayer will able to screw you up. So that way, I think probably single player for the better. So maybe I'm biased when it comes to that, so either way, let's just go ahead and continue for this throughout. And I think we have to go for the opposite way this time, because otherwise that we've already done grabbing the key on the right section, or the left section I should say. So now we need to do the opposite direction now, so yeah, there's not much else I can just try to talk about this. So anyways, let's go ahead and grab the key, and then just, well, go back into that previous room that we've already just went to. And then, well, unlock the gate to the next door. So either way, yeah, you just have to be very careful of those little Waddle Dee balloons, because that way that it'll just manage to give you a little bit hurtful process. So anyways, I believe the next section here is of course the candle section, ever since in World 2. And basically, I believe we need to utilize, oh really? Screw you. Screw you, enemy, for able to ruin my processing department. But anyway, we need to utilize the candle because otherwise we need to use this for specifically the third energy sphere for this specific stage. I really don't think that this world doesn't have 5 energy spheres in one of those levels, but I'm pretty sure later on though we might will. But then again though, we'll find out in Dream at some point. So anyways, ice ability activated, and then once you come freeze this enemy here, let that slide through, and then activate the switch, and boom, we get ourselves the next energy sphere. Or if you're being like super reckless or anything like that, you can at least take damage by the forms of those spikes, which I'm probably not gonna do that on the second playthrough on my own time because, well, we'll discuss more on that later until whenever we get towards the very end of this game. So, well, specifically for this Let's Play itself, well, ultimately though, we're just mainly focusing on the main game as well as some extra side of things, specifically for other sorts basically. So, and I believe the fourth and the final energy sphere go onto the left here, and then that way you can get yourselves the energy sphere from here. And then if you accidentally activate the gates to the right, then you're probably not gonna get it unless if you're trying to die or anything. So there we go. I think that pretty much takes care of the forms of level 4-5. I'm quite surprised that most of these levels didn't go far too long compared to the forms of how it does in Onion Ocean to me. But either way, we'll just leave it as it goes by. But it wasn't until whenever we jump into Kirby Star Allies that once we go for that particular Let's Play in mind, it will might as well go a pretty big marathon basically. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. So anyways, let's get on to the actual main boss in World 4. So either way though, I wonder what the next boss would it be. But of course, before we do anything, let's just bring out some of those abilities. You know what, let's go for fire, despite it might actually not do anything about it. But either way though, we just have to go for it, I suppose. And here we are with the forms of Gorilla, which is basically it's like a snowy kind of gorilla, which either way, he just kind of jumps around all over the place, and basically all you need to do is just keep on damaging him. So, not much else to talk about this, apart from the fact that there's going to be some pretty tricky moments, such as the attacks that he's trying to throw at you, and also because I'm going to be using fire for the majority of this battle. This means trying to utilize with the fire dash might not be that recommendable to me though, just because that way you get hit multitude of times if you're able to get close to him. So yeah, definitely want that in mind, and because of careful consideration and all that stuff, I think it's probably best to able to realize about the fact that you should stay away from him most of the time, unless if you're trying to block his attacks, which are able to actually just well, you deal with a little bit of damage and stuff. But anyways, let's go ahead and just burn him alive, and I think he's halfway done, because otherwise that we actually on the halfway units of health or anything. And plus he actually got himself his different kind of hair, like yellow hair compared to, I would say, white hair at first, but then again, I've already paid attention to the actual the character visuals and all that stuff, mainly because I was gonna able to try to finish up with him. And unfortunately for me though, I'm almost gonna die right there. But if I do die, however though, then I can able to jump cuts into whenever I continue what I left off. So either way though, there's not much else I can able to describe about that specific stuff, I'm afraid. So can you get close to me please? And especially noticeable, whoa, okay, that worked. I'm almost gonna get hit by that specific fist attack, and because basically I seem to get lucky by the forms of that specific obtain a copy ability to begin with, and yeah, not much else to say about it. And there goes Gorilla. And instantly afterwards, we actually instantly get dropped by the next ship part, which appears to be the emblem. So yeah, I'm not kidding, that's what the actual part itself is named. And that pretty much takes care of World 4. Kind of short, but at least we did manage to able to accomplish this world no problem. Despite with the amount of deaths I have, specifically with the slippery ice physics segments, most notably in the another dimension segments, and also for that specific shoe item that I constantly keep on ranting about. But either way though, aside from that, we did have a very good time on this particular world. So either way, only one more part left until the actual lore Star Cutter will be fully restored. And once again, we're gonna meet up with Mega Lore, as you can see right there. Kirby, you've done it! My Star Cutter finally has its emblem back. Oh, joyous, glorious day. There's only one missing part left to find. And remember, once the lore is up and running, I'll take you to visit my home. Crashing on your planet, meeting you. Somehow, despite what the ordeal has turned out into, it's been worth it. Thank you yet again for your help and in being such a cool dude. Thank you, Mega Lore. I do appreciate about that stuff. And I'm pretty sure we're now actually onto the halfway point of that specific energy spheres counter. Specifically because we got ourselves 64 of them. And then, well, I believe we got ourselves about 56 left. So, naturally speaking, we're almost pretty much getting close. So either way, yeah, now we can able to actually go into those copy ability rooms, or except for one more of them. But then again though, into all the future worlds and beyond, that we're able to try to access to one. So, anyways, I think we'll pretty much take care for this point right there. And now we actually access to this next world, which appears to be Nutty Noon. Which, either way though, it kind of makes it obvious for that specific part. So anyways though, let's go ahead and end things off here. So join me next time on Let's Play Kirby's Adventure Wii / Kirby's Return to Dreamland. It's the fact that we're going to be hit on to World 5, which is Nutty Noon. So I guess I'll talk to you guys on Thursday. So see you guys on Thursday. Later, fellas.